I think it's great. What I think is always a powerful, like, primary question before those 2 pathways is, are you bloated and are you having daily bowel movements? Because most people who are not agreeing with plant foods have one or both of those 2 issues. And I think bringing them first to that understanding of like, "Oh, shoot, like, I am bloated all the time. Maybe this is something that I want to explore." Like, it's their choice then to continue down those 2 paths, because I do think that those are 2 great offerings for people. In fact, I think 3 is better. We had done a training a long time ago, and they said, "Don't just tell people chocolate or vanilla, tell them chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry." Psychology shows that we like 3 choices. It makes us feel like we have more freedom. It's not like an either or, like it's like vegetables or carnivore. It could be like vegetables, it could be less vegetables, like less oxalate containing vegetables, and then it could be no vegetables. And then they're like, "Ooh, I get to choose in this." But I think leading them in with like, "Hey, how do you feel?" That is a great like realization back to them of like, I don't just have to choose a path. Like there's a reason I'm choosing a path.
And I think so much of it is really it's a mental exercise. I mean,
Mm,
you can give people those options, right? And we give 3 options, but we're very clear that when we provide our clients options, we do it along a spectrum.
mm,
And that spectrum is on one end, you have carnivore, as carnivore as carnivore can get. On the other end, you have a more flexible approach, but most people will look at it and say, hey, that looks pretty much like paleo. And then in between, you would have what would be considered animal based. So high protein, but you still have the fruit in there, you have the honey, maybe more dairy.
butter.
And
The
but
butter.
the idea is that I want people to see that the healthiest thing that they could do, the way that they could have the most sustainable um, nutrition for the rest of their life is to just simply learn to live along the spectrum. At times is a person who occasionally has some vegetable. If it's occasional, is it going to be a problem? Probably not. Right? It's probably not going to be an issue. But maybe that person realizes that that's not an everyday thing. Maybe that is that just like in that moderation circle, right? That yellow circle, it's like it's once in a while. It's when I go out. And then if they can learn though that, there's these things over here, they could have the potential to do this to you, and it might not be a positive thing. Then you just simply learn to just steer clear of that. But maybe within that category, being specific about vegetables, like they find that there is one that agrees with them. And they like, I love jalapenos. Right?
Mhm.
I love jalapenos. I love spiciness. So if I go out to eat, am I sitting there going, "Oh, it's a jalapeno, like I can't have that. That's a vegetable." No, but it's also not an everyday thing for me. So I understand that the bulk of what I need to stay away from is this stuff over here.
It's
And
good.
if this is happening in large amounts and consistently, like it's going to cause problems. And that's why it's usually so easy to convince somebody or have them convince themselves that maybe these vegetables are not the best thing for me just by pointing out the bloat, just by pointing out the bowel movements, or by pointing out, hey, do you feel a lessening of joint pain if it's a person who's dealing with that? Those physical responses or non-responses are really what's going to hook people long term. But I do like in the beginning of giving people the option of like, hey, do this over here, but like, let's just pick one thing. Let's pick 1 or 2 things that we're consuming. In fact, we had that conversation today with a client. It was, listen, I know you're not ready to go over here, right? Which is carnivore. And she's kind of sitting in that animal base, flexible spectrum, right? She's kind of residing right in the middle. And she knows that she should probably start staying clear of some of those vegetables. So I said, why don't we just narrow it down? Like, let's just narrow it down for now. Same thing with the fruit. I'm like, what are your favorite ones? And so she picked out 3. I was like, great. If you're looking for convenience, have those 3 around. But I think that that's how we have to position it for people is you can't initially just say no. You tell a kid no, what do they want to do? It's like they want to do that thing that you told them no.
That's what happens when Mike tells me no.
That's interesting. I mean, we're all big kids at the end of the day, right? And so I feel like that's in terms of pro- positioning it for people, it's like they have to have a choice. And so I like leaving a choice available to them, but I'm going to do my best to make it like the healthiest version of that choice, the least
Yeah.
damaging, and then educate them along the way.
Well, it's funny too, like, he loves jalapenos. I love chimichurri sauce. Like, how much do I love chimichurri?
Yeah.
If I could, like, bathe in a
Right.
vat of chimichurri, I would be so happy. With a steak, like, it's gotta be a big, nice skirt steak, right? But we'll have clients who will lock themselves in, like you're saying, like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm not allowed to do that." Or they'll say, because we psych ourselves out, like, "Oh my gosh, I had chimichurri sauce," which has parsley and, like, herbs in it, "on my steak, so now I'm not carnivore anymore. I might as well eat the french fries." Right? Like, they'll talk themselves out of it with something like that. So, like, I do think the spectrum is good, flexibility is good, but like you're doing, Casey, like I love that you're literally educating people in your neighborhood because there is no body, like a body of, health or research or nutrition that's doing that for us common folk,
Yeah.
like we have to get better educated. And for me, sitting in on the interview mic set up with Dr. Anthony Chafee, I was like, wait, what? That's the history of vegetables? Like, I'm out.
That's crazy. I know.